Hey, what's up? This is Joe and Friends show. We're live from Vegas with Mark Balkenende from Matillion. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Good to see you. So yeah, we're just at the Venetian, gonna record. Like I said, just kind of kicking it freestyle here on the show. So anyway, Mark, welcome.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good.
Now that we're all set.
Okay, now that we're all set. Yeah, we had a bit of drama, which usually happens when we're trying to set this podcast up here. So anyway, Mark, for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give an intro?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I'm Mark Balkenende, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Matillion. Been there about a year. Prior to that, I was at a competitor, Talent, I'm sure.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. I was there for about 9 years. And then prior to that, I was in a myriad of different companies, actually doing data management type activities, at Walgreens and Abbott Labs and some other places like that in the Chicagoland area. So
interesting. I mean, walk me through that real quick. I mean, you come from more of a practitioner background, right? I mean, how did that? How did you get into product based on that kind of experience?
Well, I did about 13 years of support and running, everything from Informatica and Initiate for MDM systems, data governance systems, and frankly, I just got tired of the 24/7 support and running those things, and I got pretty good at the Talent MDM system before I joined Talent, and they approached me, and I went to, I guess, the dark side, if you want to call it that. But life's a little bit easier over here. I don't have to do 24/7 support anymore, at least. So
I'm sure you miss those days.
So. Oh, dearly. I now that we're venturing into the SaaS world, we're going to offer 4 nines. I was like, I'm glad I'm not part of that team though, because product marketing doesn't worry about the 4 nines.
What as a product marketer, what do you worry about?
So a lot of things that I'm very focused on is just how the Matillion product and the Matillion brand is represented out in the market. Product launches, which I think we're going to mention later on. It is product marketing, so I do have to understand a lot about our products, how the products work, how people use them, the different use cases, and be able to promote new use cases, make sure there's still a good market and things like that, and training, enablement, all that good stuff goes into product marketing.
Stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
What's your favorite part about that?
My favorite part is the product. It's all, for me, it starts with the product, and that's why I came to Matillion, because another part of product marketing is competitive intelligence. So you learn about your competitors and make sure that our salespeople can be educated about what our competitors do. And so when I was learning about Matillion while I was at Talent, I really kind of fell in love with the product and how it's architected and how it works, and really their vision, and still do today, and love the vision of where we're going.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the first time I picked up Matillion, it must have been 2016 or 2017. And I had previously just used Talent on a project as well at one of my old employers. And so when I saw Matillion, I was like, oh, it's different. It's cool. There's not so much cruft to it, I suppose, to put it plainly. Yeah, like it just gives you what you need to use.
Extra stuff that you don't need.
A lot of extra stuff, like thousands of connectors I'll probably never use. Yeah,
and you only pay for what you use as well with Matillion, which is quite different from a lot of the other vendors as well. So, but the architecture is completely different too, right? And it's 2017 probably still pretty new as far as the ELT architecture. I don't know if I should explain that or not.
I think for some people, yeah, explain what ELT is real quick.
So most legacy vendors, integration vendors, are ETL, meaning extract. They transform inside their architecture and infrastructure and then load it into whatever the target database is. ELT is what Matillion does, and is 100% ELT, is we extract the data from wherever, load it into the source. In our case, is all cloud data platforms, is where we target, and then do all the transformations on the cloud data platforms. The advantage to that is, Snowflake, Redshift, Databricks, Delta Lake, all those, they're built to scale. They're built to be flexible and scalable and work with JSON, work with all types of different types of data sets, if you got petabytes of data, it's going to scale automatically. You don't have to do a thing to Matillion. In 2017, that probably still wasn't a huge factor, back when you started using it. But it was becoming more and more prevalent that why do you have to scale your other infrastructures when you've already paid for Snowflake or Redshift or whatever? Right. Go ahead and use that instead. So it's a pretty elegant way of really being able to handle a ton of data.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't see a lot of people using ETL these days. I think maybe in legacy things that Ternary Data runs into, we might help people maybe kind of move those workloads to an ELT type workflow. But I mean, you still see them. I think maybe if you're like an SSIS or something like that, that tends to be common. But I don't see a lot of people like embarking on ETL nowadays. Yeah,
brand new projects kicking off.
Yeah, it's like, let's do that.
So what do you see as the data stacks in kind of as far as like, I assume you're working a lot with the analytic kind of data stacks, modern, whatever you want to call them, modern analytic stacks. What do you see?
I see a lot of.
Can I ask you questions? Sorry.
You can ask questions. It's a two-way thing. You used to do a podcast too, so I think you're the natural default of a podcaster is to interview. So
right.
We'll just interview each other. Yeah, I think the types of stacks I see, it's kind of two ways. You see people using the sort of the managed cloud services like your BigQuery, Synapse. Redshift and so forth. That's good. Snowflake obviously dominates a lot of the conversations. Databricks to some extent too. I'm starting to see more and more Databricks coming out as well. But it's, and then, that's for the data warehouse or data lakehouse or whatever you want to call it. So I'll contrast this with what I used to see. I used to see a lot of people using SQL Server kind of starting out. Or relational databases. I don't see that as much anymore. I don't see people also throwing just random stuff into, data lakes and just kind of setting and forgetting it. Like kind of data lake 1.0 I refer to, which is like throw everything in S3 and.
Us in marketing speak, we called that the data swamps.
Data swamps, yes, of course. Trying to be polite.
The marketing language, which I know a lot of people hate, and I try not to do it on podcasts, but.
Russell,
that's what you were referring to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Throw it in and forget it. And not
set it and forget it. Yeah. What was I calling it the other day? I was joking with somebody like data meth labs. I think I called it.
That's nice. Can I steal that?
You can go ahead and steal that. I don't know. Data crack.
I'll give you credit.
But Russell actually asked about ETLT or. So extract, transform, load, and transform. Or I guess this is also, Russell, I'm guessing in reference to reverse ETL, right? Is a nomenclature. Or as I called it, BLT, which is bidirectional load and transform.
Oh, not the sandwich?
Well, I take inspiration from food.
I haven't had breakfast yet, so BLT might be too early. But yeah, definitely. And that's reverse ETL. Well, here at Matillion, there's a couple of us in product marketing that really do not like the term reverse ETL.
Why don't you like it?
Because why would you ever run your ETL and backwards? Would you untransform your data? That's not what you're doing. So what that means, or what people are doing, and then I think it refers to the ETLT, is once you have like really good enriched analytic data, or good data sets that have good insights in them inside of Snowflake or Redshift or wherever, push that data, those analytics back into the operational systems to get the true value out of it. Matillion does that too. So we have sync back. We refer to ours as sync back because it really is more of what we're doing is we're syncing that valuable data back from Snowflake or from your cloud data platforms back into your operational systems where the actual users can go use it and see it faster versus having to go to some dashboard and look up look up their customers, see if they're really are top 10 or if their revenue's falling or rising, have it in Salesforce, have the data in Pendo and things like that. And we're seeing more and more people happy with that flow versus the app to app type flow, where you do like Marketo to Salesforce or something and somehow have to transform in flight like that, which is a different pattern, but pretty hard to enrich the data when you're flowing. And if you have all that good stuff in your analytic data warehouse, your data platforms, then push it push it back to where the users can see it. And we're seeing more of that, and we're building more output connectors as well for that.
Interesting. That's cool. Like, yeah, I'm starting to see like a lot of reverse ETL work. Reverse ETL.
That's all right. That's all
I mean,
right.
don't like punch me or something. Yeah. And to answer George's, what's up, George Farrakhan? Is this an in-person session? Yes, it is. We're live at the Venetian. That's a lot more fancy than it sounds, but we're in Vegas right now. So yeah, it's kind of cool actually. The in-person thing. It
is nice.
Yeah,
it is nice.
It's like it feels like a new format all of a sudden.
Right. Well, that is for the last 2 years. It's pretty new.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the last time I did an in-person event was March 11th of 2020, the day of the national lockdown.
Oh, wow.
So we flew in people from Confluent and Implied to do
I'm so honored.
conference.
I'm honored, Jeff.
You're welcome. Yes. So
I'm your first in almost 2 years.
So, but yeah, this in-person session, it's pretty cool. It's a new thing. I think people will be catching on to it soon, or not actually. We have new variants.
Maybe we may all be locked down again.
This will be the last one for a while, actually.
Another 2 years.
So,
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not either. Yeah, Russell kind of clarifies, yes, indeed, the bidirectional. So some transformation prior to and subsequent to load, spending upon the data source environment and insights required.
And that's obviously that's needed in some situations where you need a file there, you have data sitting in files and you need to parse the file or split files before you can load it and stuff like that. Matillion has capabilities to do that. None of this is new, by the way. The reverse ETL is not new either. Just for anybody that may be new to the industry, a lot of the legacy ETL tools have the capabilities to do all this. It's just that now there's very dedicated companies that have really kind of branded that motion, because you have data stacks and tools that do very pointed things, right? They have loaders only, like our Matillion data loader or Fivetran or somebody like that. I hate to say that, but they just load data into your cloud data platforms. Right. And then you need to transform it. Well, if you don't have a big legacy tool, then how do you get that data back into something like Salesforce or Marketo or Pendo or something like that? That's where these sync back operations or reverse ETL, if you want to refer to that, work, or that's how they handle it. So people are starting to build more and more, seeing very precise tool sets for very, very precise steps in the journey.
Let me ask you this though. So I was talking to a client yesterday about this workflow where they had HubSpot, and instead of doing resyncing stuff back from BigQuery into HubSpot, they was like, well, why don't we just do everything in HubSpot? Why don't you just do all these transformations, syncs into Salesforce or HubSpot? Why would you go through these extra steps? Why not just do it there?
Well, I don't know about HubSpot because I'm not very familiar with that, but I know that Salesforce doesn't really have that capability to do a bunch of extra transformations and enrichment and stuff like that. You typically need a different landing zone. The data is often coming from different places too. So you may have sales projections, you may have segmentation coming from somewhere else. It all depends on what you're trying to do. So you need somewhere to make that happen. And these cloud data platforms are a good place to do that. Like I said, they scale, they work great for it. They're getting even better at some of the operational type pieces of it. They're originally built to do more, analytic workloads, but they're starting to get really good at some of the operational type workloads too, so that you can do this. I'm not familiar with HubSpot, but I don't think you could do a whole lot of that in Salesforce.
Right. Yeah. I think we hopefully talked our client off the cliff of doing a lot of stuff in HubSpot. I was just like, it seems like if you ever wanted to move from your CRM as well, you get to deal with that mess now. And if anyone is able to reconcile the logic that you built in there, and good luck on that.
Good luck.
George asks, in an org, who would be the main users of Matillion, both technical and business?
So the main people that are using Matillion and the people that we target are really in the business intelligence area, data science, machine learning. They're data engineers. They're maybe business analysts are using it as well, depending on how technical they are. If there's anybody still left with a title ETL developer, but I don't know that anybody has that anymore. But
most a reverse ETL developer.
Now you're a reverse ETL. You're undoing all that.
Or a BLT developer. Or
BLT.
Yeah.
But mostly data engineers, some data scientists, but very few data scientists look at us because we're a low code, no code option. type integration tool. So, data scientists today still really love to get their hands on the code and see the code.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one thing I liked about Matillion is you can see all the code that's generated, all the SQL that's generated that's going to run in Snowflake or Redshift, wherever, very quickly and easily, as well as you can write some Python if you need to do that pre-transformation step, if that's required, and stuff like that. So it has some good capabilities. But yeah, primarily we're in the in the analytic type space in an org, within the reporting or business intelligence, and it's data engineers, data scientists who are using Matillion.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And he has a follow-up question here. You've got great reviews in Gartner. What would you say is the what makes your product so good?
The product itself, when Matillion started, and this is quite amazing, even when I started a year ago, it's pretty much product-led growth. They built the product, they put it out on AWS Marketplace. They never really had much of a sales team. When I joined, we only had 10 salespeople a year ago that was selling Matillion, and that's pretty impressive especially for the amount of users and customers. We had over 1,000 customers already, paying customers for several years. They've been paying and using Matillion off the marketplaces and stuff like that. So it's just the ease of use. I think the ease of use all around. Like, it's so easy to get it up and running, and within 10 minutes you can have a full functioning ELT or ETL, if that's too confusing, type platform up and running, loading data, transforming it, pushing it out, whatever you want, within minutes, versus it's not a lot of the legacy tools that we go against, and the big guys, Informatica and Talent and stuff. It'll take you weeks to get those guys set up, sometimes months to get their infrastructure set up.
Well, that's after you signed a contract.
That's right. And with Matillion, you can pay as you go. There's you just click a EULA and move on, pay as you go. Or we do obviously love contracts too, but if you don't want, you just pay as you go on the marketplaces. Pay Matillion either way. So there's no commitment. So there's very little friction, and it's just really easy to use. And that's what we hear over and over and over from customers. We have a quote. Julie, my comms person, is back here. Is it DocuSign? This is breath of fresh air.
Yes.
Yeah, one of our quotes from one of our customers, DocuSign, I love is it's a breath of fresh air compared to the legacy ETL tools, because again, it's just so different. Like you said, when you first used it, it's just a lot different than a lot of these other tools and platforms, and it's made for these cloud environments, so you can take advantage of SQS and SNS and all the S3 capabilities too on top of AWS or Azure is the same way. So it gives you the ability to use all that stuff that you know and love anyway.
Oh yeah, I was a fan from day one. Just super easy to set up, get going, and plus I could shut it off and not get charged when I'm not using it. So, and I plug that to all of my clients, especially early on. I was like, if you don't want to pay a lot of money, this thing might cost you only a couple bucks a day.
Yeah.
Obviously Matillion would like you to pay more, but it's cool.
No,
right?
We want you to use it whatever you need to use it. Right?
Yeah.
If you only need a couple hours a day, then hey, knock your socks off. That's the beauty of Matillion, and we're continuing to build the model out that way. The new pricing model that I don't know if you saw, where we have credits, encourages that as well. It's like, hey, just start it whenever you want. You only pay for what you use, and we're going to continue as we continue down more of a SaaS kind of outline. You're going to see that even more, where it's no longer the machine. It's just when the jobs run, you get a credit or something. So we're going to continue that, and that's one of our core values at Matillion is only pay for what you need, only pay for what you use. Don't pay for a bunch of shit that sits on the shelf. Oh, sorry. Hopefully it's child friendly.
It's child friendly.
So definitely.
That's awesome.
Room service.
Walk me through that pricing model too, because I think there was sort of a fundamental. You used to be able to go to the marketplace and spin up a VM, but
you still can.
Still can. Okay. And then is there a way I can also just pay on the website now?
Yeah. So it's called a Matillion Hub, is what we refer to it as, and that's where you start Matillion now. Is you go through this process. It's just a few clicks, and it will take you to whichever cloud provider, AWS, Azure, and soon GCP, but it'll take you to either one of those into a very familiar environment that you knew before. just like you start your EC2 instance from there. There's still EC2 instances, VMs that run on these cloud service providers, but now you have the option to pay for your credits and pay Matillion direct if you want, but you still can pay through your marketplace accounts as well. So there's no additional contracting needed if you have a whole bunch of AWS money, which we know a lot of enterprises do that, or Azure spend. Yeah,
and we're at reInvent, by the way.
Yes, I have to plug AWS more. This is also why I talk more about Redshift today. But yeah, so you can pay either way. We're just giving more flexibility to customers because some customers also don't want to necessarily use that AWS spend, or they don't have AWS spend and stuff like that. So it was an extra step where they'd have to go through the AWS contracting too, as well as Matillion. So yeah, I'm just trying to make it easier and faster for everybody.
Nice. And then how do you handle updates in this new setup, this new pricing? Does Matillion update the software behind the scenes? Same way
as before.
Okay.
The only difference is now that you have there's a quick ping callback in the EC2 instance back to what's called the Matillion Hub to let us know how much you've used it. That's it.
Got it.
And so now we're not dependent on AWS, Azure, GCP to tell us how much you used it. Now we know how much you used it, and that gives us the ability to go either way. But it also gives us the ability to really level the playing field of cost across all three cloud service providers and stuff.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
A lot of activity in this room right now.
Yeah, good day. That's okay. What you announced some new stuff recently.
Yeah, so yesterday we just announced we launched a whole new version of our Matillion Data Loader. We call it MDL, but Matillion Data Loader 2.0. And so a lot of great capabilities in there. If you've used it before, you'll know it looked a lot kind of like the ELT product out there. But so we've updated and refreshed the UI, made it look a lot better. But we're also adding some really cool capabilities. So we're adding true change data capture into it. So CDC, which is log-based on several relational databases out there, Oracle, Postgres, SQL Server, and those are all going to be part of it when it goes GA. We also are introducing an agent that can run inside of your firewall. So if you're familiar with some of the competitors to Matillion data loaders, like Fivetran and Stitch, they don't have a way to run inside of your firewall or inside of your VPCs. You need to be fully SaaS comfortable with those type of tools, where Matillion, the 2.0 of data loader, will now come with an agent. It's a container, small little container that will run these jobs, run these loads, extracts, and as well as the CDC functionality. So a lot of cool stuff coming out. We announced the pre-beta or the private beta for CDC and the public beta for the new 2.0 UI of MDL yesterday. So if anybody's interested, definitely sign up. You can go to our website to the Matillion Data Loader and sign up for the beta and come in. We'd love your feedback.
I think I'm going to go sign up for it.
Yeah,
do. We're also a Matillion partner, so yeah. I need to sign up for it.
You should. We'd love to hear your feedback on the CDC.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. It was something I always thought my last employer should have had. And I'm very excited that we're doing it here at Matillion. So I'm really
cool.
excited to get.
That seems to be sort of the trend of where everything's going to is, change data capture, some sort of faster than batch, I would say, right? Whatever that means.
Well, and a lot of these loading tools, they're more just, if there's any change, it just replicates the data, right? Versus, I refer to it as true change data capture, not just replication, where what field changed, when it changed, what it was before, what it is now, and we provide actually the full log of that history into S3 or Azure Blob Storage, as well as the predefined jobs in Matillion ETL or ELT to translate that into flattened tables. So it's really end-to-end experience. You'll be able to use Data Loader and our ELT together to get the CDC and get the full value out of that data.
That's wicked. Yeah. So everyone go check it out. That sounds cool. Actually got a question here from Adrian Zanovi, aka LinkedIn user on StreamYard, on what features is Matillion better than the competition?
All of them.
All of them. Okay, so,
like I said, the some of the, especially in the new product that we just talked about, having that secure agent that runs inside of your VPCs or runs inside of your firewall, can be on premise too, is a big differentiator. If you talk about CDC alone, not only doing log-based CDC, but having that full transactional history copied into your environment so that you can go and parse that and use it however you need. Because there's a lot of different use cases, fraud. There's all more than just BI, right? There's all types of different use cases for this type of CDC out there. So that's a big differentiator between, say, HVR and Click, Replicate, and stuff like that. So there's some great capabilities there. Very all cloud based. It's all based on the SaaS and cloud model that everybody loves so much. So I assume that's what they were asking about, not just the ETL piece. But
yeah, it's kind of an open-ended question.
Yeah. But as you know, as a product marketer, I'm going to tell you everything's better.
Okay.
Don't ask me what's worse.
Do you expect to connect into Kafka or Pulsar or Kinesis at some point?
Yes, absolutely. Those are on the roadmap, especially for the CDC. So the CDC piece will stream into S3 and Blob in micro batches, stream it in as changes happen on the database. But we will turn on a Kafka piece of that eventually, so that both read changes from a Kafka topic as well as write the CDC file changes out to Kafka topics.
Interesting.
So we can be streaming the changes into Kafka as well. So that will come probably second half of next year. Obviously, that's a lot more work to get that going, but it'll be pretty cool because those changed files that I was talking about, they're just Avro files and with JSON in them, pretty compact. So it'll be pretty easy to get the writer to write out to the Kafka topics when it's time.
That's cool. And then what about, I guess, loading data into a target, like a destination, like a Snowflake or a Redshift?
Snowflake on AWS.
Snowflake on AWS. With that in mind, I mean, are you going to try and keep the are you going to micro batch it, kind of how Redshift would want you to copy data in instead of doing direct inserts?
Yeah.
How's that handled?
Well, right now, definitely that's how it's going to work. And there, like I said, within the Matillion ETL product, we'll have shared jobs for all the different cloud data platforms that we support that would then take those Parquet or those Avro files that the change data captures writing out to your buckets and put that into your cloud data platforms for you, as well as flatten it. So being able to take those transactions and put them into very flattened states, so then you could do additional reporting on them and do other type of analytics if you want on them. And there's no limit to those. We're gonna launch with the support of all the big ones: Redshift, Snowflake, Delta Lake as well. So we can do change data capture, and push it to Delta Lake on Databricks, for example, as well. There's no reason why not. So yeah.
Wait. So because right now with Matillion, I can usually write to one destination within a but are you suggesting that it can
No, not yet.
Okay,
but that's coming. That's coming too next year.
So that would be cool.
More towards the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's definitely one of the challenges or limitations, right? Is the ETL product is set on Snowflake or set on Delta Lake. But as we go into more of the SaaS product of the ETL version, that will go away. So that limitation will no longer be there. You'll be able to have what we call runners on any one of the targets.
But I'd be able to write to a like a relational database as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think Matillion ever has any desire to go away from the cloud data platforms.
Got it.
So we want to help you move away from those relational databases.
Yeah, we always get requests for that though. Can I write to Redshift and to Aurora? It's actually come up.
Well, you can. We do have that's the reverse ETL stuff, but we do have output components. I believe Aurora is on there.
Okay.
I know Oracle, SQL Server, all the RDS supports all the RDSs on AWS as well. So Aurora is one of those.
Okay.
Right?
So for people asking, you can do it. So or just read about it. Documentation is really good. By the way, documentation is awesome that you guys have.
That's great.
So Walk me through.
That's not what Gardner said, but thank you.
Well,
I'm glad. I always joke because Gardner, they always have to find 3 things that they want to say that they have to caution you on.
mm-hmm.
Documentation seems like it's always one for every vendor.
But that's super nitpicky. Like if you can show me the gold standard of like what a good documentation is.
Well, as long as if any one customer had a comment about like they couldn't find something in documentation, they just like check that box, like, oh, documentation's weak. So, but I don't know what the gold standard is, but I can tell you most of the developers and users such as you really do like our documentation.
I found it helpful. I mean, even early on, when there really wasn't much, it was like I could find most of what I needed to, or it was intuitive enough I could just figure it out. It's not that hard.
I really like, because I haven't seen other products do this, where it links you out to, say, if you're on the Snowflake version, it'll link you right to the Snowflake documentation for that piece of functionality that you're looking to use. If you're using the flatten and it's not doing what you want, and our documentation doesn't tell you enough, it'll take you right out to the Snowflake and tell you in the Snowflake flattening feature what it's doing. So I've never really seen, I don't think, any other products that do that inside of their documentation.
Right. They kind of want to keep you inside of the documentation.
They always try to keep it all in. And the problem with that is, if Snowflake changes, then documentation team has to go out and change everything, right? So where this is very tightly linked to the cloud data platform you're on.
So how do you stay on top of latest developments with all the ecosystem?
We work very closely with all of them.
Okay.
We're very tight partners with Redshift team at AWS. So when they launched the Super feature, I think our next version came out a week later, announcing the support for the Super and doing all the capabilities and things that you could do in Super. And same with Snowflake. So, Snowflake, you can't stream data live into tables in Snowflake right now, but they may be coming out with something, and we may be working with them on that too. But those are we're staying very close with the vendors.
That's cool
to keep, and they're working very closely with us. It's not a fight, which is great. It's a very give take kind of relationship for both of us, because they know as soon as we support it, and people start using it more as well. So
kind of bringing back to streaming, I mean, what are your thoughts on sort of the evolution of cloud data platforms, whether it's a lakehouse or data warehouse? Where do you think streaming fits into these architectures?
Well, and streaming is, I think, just will continue to be more and more not popular, but required. More and more required as you go. And you mentioned the lakehouse architecture, which is an architecture, not a product, right? But the lakehouse architecture helps you handle when streaming becomes more popular or more needed in your organization, and you have requirements for those streaming capabilities. Then if you're in this kind of lakehouse architecture, which for those that aren't familiar with it, it's the ability to have your data lake really serve up all of your workloads, whether it's your traditional BI workloads for just your reporting, your data enterprise data warehouse can be part of your lake house. It'll serve up your data science, your machine learning, AI type activities as well. But it's having all the data sitting at one shared spot, and then the workloads working off of those. And that could be data streaming into that data lake. It could be batch, it could be change data capture coming in, but it's all stored in that data lake, and the different workloads sitting on top of it. And that's the concept really pushed hard by Databricks originally, but I'm starting to see it across the board in many different ways. A lot of people are doing it. They're not calling it a lake house because maybe they don't like that, or they don't even know that's what they're doing. But more and more, I'm seeing more and more people using the lake house architecture and getting a lot of value out of it. And then the other obvious value is you're not replicating data everywhere, or your data teams are using the same data sets and not getting different answers because they're using different data sets, right? So it's a great concept and a great architecture, I feel.
What are your thoughts on data governance? I sort of see data governance 2 or 3.0 right now coming to more popularity. Data management is back in vogue. All these like enterprisey concepts that were, I think, reserved for large companies are now sort of filtering down to the every person. What are your thoughts in terms of what you just mentioned with lake houses or data warehouses, kind of a common source of truth, and this convergence with I think stronger governance?
Yeah, I think the governance piece is pretty key in the data lake world, right? So you mentioned earlier on, that just drop it in the data lake and forget it, which really caused a lot of problems. So when, as people started moving to the cloud, I think that's where it became more popular, and they rebranded themselves, some of these governance tools, to be called catalogs. So a lot of the catalog tools are just like the metadata management tools back, 15 years ago or 20 years ago that I used when I was in enterprises. But now they've updated them. They call them catalogs to give you way better search capabilities and accessibility, access control. So now you're dumping the data into your data lake, but you can find it, you can categorize it, you can. Some of the cooler companies out there, some of the cool ML companies out there are helping you tag and segment the data and catalog it better automatically, so you know what's sensitive and not without really doing anything, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen Big ID. They do a lot of the PII, GDPR automatic scanning for you. So there's some cool companies like that. And then you can segment the data within your data lakes and know what can be accessed by who much faster and easier, and set those rules up. So I think with the transition from the on-premise data lakes to the cloud data lakes in this lakehouse effect or lakehouse architecture, you're getting a lot more governance automatically really built into the processes.
I saw something with lake formation yesterday too, where they had announced kind of like row level, cell level security.
I did not see that.
Yeah, unless I was hallucinating it, or I don't know.
No,
it's entirely possible.
I was very busy yesterday. But what was the announcement? I was on the floor.
I mean, that was just the announcement. Really, it's like now you can do basically row cell level protection. I was like, that's cool. So then I'm like, so you just announced serverless Redshift and that, and I'm like, well, at some point, when do these all become the same thing?
Right.
So
eventually,
right?
Maybe.
So the data lake warehouse or something. Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, what are your thoughts on data modeling too? We mentioned ELT, but I want to get your perspective. You've been in the data world for a long time, right? You probably dealt with Kimball, maybe Data Vault, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Love them all. So, but what do you think is next for data modeling? It seems like in one hand, we're sort of stuck in like this paradigm where it has to be star schema or data or something like that. But do you see anything evolving in that space? Or,
I mean, I'm really starting to see, especially since I came to Matillion, seeing more of the larger enterprises starting to adopt the data vault over the Kimball model, over the star schema and Snowflake schema. Go figure, there's a company called Snowflake. But yeah, so there's a lot of that going on, but then there's also a lot of still, so that's still just the analytic piece of the world. So there's a lot more people just, working with that JSON, the semi-structured type data at the end of the day. And actually some of the reporting tools work off of that JSON structure too now. I know like Looker does some work on that. So, I think we're still stuck. I don't think there's anybody prevailing. I think for your enterprise data warehouses, there's still a lot of people just comfortable with the star schema, the Ralph Kimball models. I see more and more though data vaults for the data lake and the lake house. It has a lot of great advantages for those type of architectures, especially if you're just working in a lake house. Concept, if you've ever worked on it, does no updates.
Right.
It's just insert, right? So, and that was really great for Hadoop back when Hadoop was cool. Remember that?
Yeah, a long time ago in the big data days. Yeah.
You want to talk about the 3Vs next? What do you see in the modeling world? So I don't want to talk about.
Well, I mean, I've been thinking about. No, I don't want to talk about that. It's boring. But the modeling is interesting. I've been talking with my my co-author actually with the book we're writing right now for O'Reilly, the Fundamentals of Data Engineering. Shameless plug. But
when's that coming out?
This will come out in the summer of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. It's growing more than we thought.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Especially when we get into transformations, which led us to start talking, okay, so like what's next in transformations? This has been something that's been on my mind a lot. And in my reading room, I have like Data Warehouse Toolkit, Data Vault 2, books and transformations, Agile Data Warehouse handbooks, and I'm like, this is great. It's good, actually. It's really good. You should check it out. But I'm like, okay, so this is great, but this was applicable in a world that it still exists, but it's evolving, especially with streaming. What are the paradigms, with streaming especially introduced into this mix? That's something I've been thinking about. And like, it's just somebody need to, eventually put some hard thinking into this or write a book. I don't know. But streaming, as it becomes more pervasive, it does change things because there is not a playbook for that I've seen. So
no, but the Data Vaults actually handles streaming pretty well. Because when I went through the training, I'm 2.0 certified. Cool. I don't know if you are, but
no, I'm not. Can you autograph my mask real quick? Thanks.
By Dan Lindstad himself, man. The training I went to was actually he was I don't know if they were short staffed or what, but he actually delivered the training, 3-day training from him.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool actually. I heard a lot of cool stuff. But as I went through the training and he talked a little bit about it, but knowing I was at Talent, we did a lot of Spark streaming stuff there. And looking at it, like the Data Vault actually handles streaming very well. Mm-hmm. So you can really, with the Data Vault model, even it's really complex though. That's my one issue with Data Vault.
It is.
Especially if you're very familiar with the Ralph Kimball world and the star schema and facts and dimensions and how those work, to get your mind to wrap around the Data Vault's very different. But the one thing, the star schema does not handle streaming at all.
No,
at all. Won't. But the Data Vault does. The Data Vault model and how it works. And I'm not plugging that you go with the Data Vault one way or the other, mm-hmm. but it actually would handle a streaming use case much better.
Interesting.
But like I said, I still don't, because it's complex and I don't think there's not a huge adoption, although I'm seeing much more adoption.
Starting to see more adoption here. I hear more in the UK and the EU with Data Vault.
Yeah. Germany especially.
Mm-hmm. They just complicate everything.
Germany likes complicated things. So sorry if anybody's from Germany, but and I have lots of friends there. But
same.
But they it's been very popular in Germany, starting to get more popular, like you said, in the UK and France. But it is starting to show up here more and more. Even Snowflake is starting to kind of embrace it with some use cases.
Well, yeah, Kent working there, and he's like Mr. Data Vault.
So. Right. Oh yeah, he is Mr. Data Vault.
Right.
I was reading up on him the other day because we were doing some. I think we're doing a webinar or something with him. And like, maybe and he's going to talk to our chief product officer, Kieran Dines. I'm like, I don't know. He's like Mr. Data Vault. Maybe I should talk to him instead of Kieran.
Right.
But I think we're still going to.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of the articles on it way back in the day.
Yeah. But they've started publishing some use cases.
That's cool.
Customer stories where it's, they build data vaults in Snowflake and stuff like that. So, and I'm sure that's, Kent's helping push that, but even streaming, like I said, back to the streaming thing, it actually fits that use case much better. So,
do you think that Matillion's ever going to have widgets that sort of, if I want to do a star schema, things that would help me just sort of build a star schema from scratch or build a data vault from scratch?
So I think you're broaching into the data warehouse automation world, which we don't necessarily want to go in that direction, but we rather partner with people and partner with those automation tools. And one of them that we're talking to right now for Data Vault is Vault Speed.
Oh, okay.
They're presenting in our booth today, I believe. They're going to be demoing, which I'm going to go check out because I haven't seen it. I've only heard what they can do, but really cool is because they're a Data Vault automation tool. So they figure out they automatically build the Data Vault schema and tables and stuff in your cloud data platforms. But what they've done is they've taken that next step, taken all the metadata and automated all the Matillion jobs that then load those tables and keep those tables up to date. And it's all automatic. So as they build the Data Vault in Snowflake, they build the Matillion jobs automatically through our JSON layout and the APIs, and the jobs just start showing up on your canvas in your Matillion instance. And they're also, next step is building out the scheduling. So it automatically will build the schedule within Matillion schedule to run each one of those jobs.
That's really
so
cool,
I'm really interested in that because that is pretty cool. And there's, their name is VaultSpeed, so I don't think they're going to do a star schema, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't kind of replicate that with some of the
Star Speed.
Star Speed.
Yeah,
we get to call their marketing.
Interesting. I may need to get an intro to these guys at some point. So,
so yeah, stop by the booth
cool
today, and or otherwise I can make a connection. But yeah, those guys, I talked to them yesterday, and that's some really, really cool stuff, because that's exactly where I went when you were saying, is there any widgets or any way to automate that?
Well, so I'm going to look these guys up. I might have to make a...
Yeah, I don't, there's a, Dan, I don't know if Dan Lindstadt endorses them, but there's another guy, Dale Anderson, who works with Dan a lot on the Data Vault 2.0 stuff. And Mr. Anderson supports VaultSpeed a lot, so nice. He endorses them too. So yeah, very cool stuff. And that's where I went to, is right where you did.
Yeah, great minds think alike, I guess. Cool. Well, wrapping it up, I mean, how would people find out about Matillion, all the new stuff that we talked about?
Well, definitely, you can start with our website, with Matillion.com. Come check us out there and see. What's new. We have blogs out there. We just did a blog on the new MDL that's being Matillion Data Loader. Sorry, that's being that was announced yesterday. So a lot of great stuff out there. We're on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like that too. So
cool.
Go find us there. But yeah, if you're interested in the new CDC capabilities of the Data Loader, definitely go out to the blog, read about it, and we have links to sign up for the private beta, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks for first in-person podcast.
It's been fun. So, and thanks to the audience for the great questions.
Yes,
we'll be back Monday morning data chat. Matt and I will be taking the show this time with no guests, which is weird because we've had guests can't remember the last time we didn't have guests, but it's been fun. But we're going to do a quick recap of AWS reInvent and whatever other crazy stuff is on our mind. So see you all Monday. Take care. And if you're at reInvent, give us a shout out. Go stop by Matillion's booth. Hit me up. Let's get lunch. See ya.